The greatest battlefield you will ever face in life is not in the boardroom, not in the marketplace, not even in the arena of politics or competition. The most intense and decisive battlefield is inside of you. It is the war between your emotions and your will, between your impulses and your intentions, between the desire to retaliate and the discipline to remain calm. Mastering inner authority means choosing to rule your own spirit rather than being ruled by the behavior of others. It is the realization that no person, no insult, no criticism, and no betrayal deserves the power to govern your peace. When someone offends you, you have two choices. You can give them the keys to your emotions, or you can keep the keys firmly in your own hands. Most people, without even realizing it, surrender those keys daily. A driver cuts them off in traffic, and suddenly their whole morning is ruined. A colleague says something sharp in a meeting, and their productivity collapses for the rest of the day. A family member fails to acknowledge their effort, and they sink into silent resentment. In each of these moments, the keys of peace were handed over. Mastering inner authority means you decide once and for all that your emotions belong to you alone, not to the shifting behavior of others. Consider for a moment how powerful it is to be a person who cannot be provoked. Imagine living in such a way that no insult can pierce your joy, no criticism can shatter your confidence, no betrayal can poison your purpose. That kind of person becomes unshakable, and that is what mastering inner authority looks like. The ability to govern yourself is not weakness, as some think. It is in fact the highest form of strength. Controlling others may look like power, but controlling yourself is true power. There is an ancient proverb that says a person who rules their own spirit is mightier than one who takes a city. Why? Because conquering a city is an external victory, but ruling yourself is an internal one. External victories can be stolen, they can be lost, they can be reversed. Internal victories, however, establish a foundation that cannot be taken away. When you win the battle over anger, over insecurity, over bitterness, no one can defeat you because the fortress of your peace is not built on the opinions of others, but on the discipline of your own will. Let us take this deeper. Anger often arises because we feel that someone else has trespassed on our dignity. We believe their words or actions have diminished our worth. But the truth is this: no one can diminish your worth except you. The words of others are powerless until you grant them authority in your heart. The moment you allow someone's comment to stir you into rage, you have silently acknowledged that their opinion has more weight than your identity. Mastering inner authority means you decide once and for all that no one's words will carry more weight than your knowledge of who you are. Think about a king seated on a throne. If every heckler in the crowd could provoke the king to leave his seat and fight in the streets, the throne would be meaningless. The authority of a king is shown not in reacting to every shout, but in remaining seated, unmoved, ruling from a position of calm confidence. Your life is no different. You have a throne inside of you, the throne of your spirit. To master inner authority is to remain seated, to refuse to be dragged into battles that are beneath your calling. But this is not passive silence. It is not ignoring wrongs or pretending offenses don't exist. Mastering inner authority is active power. It is the decision to address wrongs with wisdom rather than wrath, to confront issues with clarity rather than chaos. It is speaking when necessary, but never from a place of uncontrolled reaction. It is responding instead of reacting. A reaction is someone else's control over you, but a response is your control over yourself. Think about the most respected leaders throughout history. Their strength was never measured by how quickly they lost their temper. In fact, the quickest way to lose credibility is to lose control. Those who master their spirit rise above pettiness because they understand that their vision is too great to be sidetracked by provocation. If your future is vast, if your calling is significant, then why waste emotional energy on temporary offenses? When you know where you are going, you do not allow yourself to be delayed by every distraction. Now reflect on your own life. How many times have you wasted hours, even days, replaying in your mind something someone said to you? How many opportunities have been missed because you were too busy being upset rather than being focused? Every moment spent in anger is a moment stolen from your destiny. Mastering inner authority means reclaiming those stolen moments and refusing to allow anger to rob you any longer. To live this way requires discipline. It is not something that happens overnight. You must train your mind daily to pause before reacting, to breathe before speaking, to measure your words before releasing them. Over time, this discipline forms a shield around your heart. It is like building an inner fortress where peace becomes the atmosphere and anger has no entry. And once this fortress is built, people may still insult you, criticize you, or betray you. But you will stand calm, anchored, and unshaken because you have learned the greatest of all powers, to rule your own spirit. Life is not shaped by what happens to you, but by how you choose to see it. Every human being lives through the lens of perception, and that lens determines whether experiences become heavy burdens or stepping stones. The same event that makes one person bitter makes another person better, not because of the event itself, but because of the interpretation given to it. The power of perspective is the power to rewrite your experience without changing the facts, to transform the same situation into a source of strength rather than a trigger for anger. When someone offends you, the natural instinct is to believe that their words or actions have the power to define you. But nothing external has the ability to define you unless you grant it access. Perspective decides whether you see their insult as a weapon or as noise. If you interpret criticism as an attack, it will ignite anger in you. If you interpret it as ignorance, it loses its sting. Perspective acts as a filter, and you alone decide which meaning passes through that filter. Imagine two individuals walking through a storm. One sees the rain as misery, an obstacle, and a reason to complain. The other sees it as nourishment for the earth, an opportunity to grow, and even a refreshing gift. Both experienced the same storm, but their perspective changed everything. One grew bitter, the other grew grateful. The difference was not the storm, it was the lens. This is the same with people's actions toward you. They are the storm, but your perspective decides whether that storm waters your growth or drowns your joy. Perspective is also deeply tied to identity. When you know who you are, insults lose their authority. If a stranger calls you by the wrong name, you don't become angry, you simply correct them, because their error does not change your identity. In the same way, when someone calls you worthless or incapable, their words are nothing but misidentification. If you are secure in your true worth, their perception does not disturb your peace. The only reason people's words hurt so deeply is because we have not fully anchored ourselves in truth. A healthy perspective is rooted in knowing who you are and refusing to let others redefine you. It is important to recognize that anger is often born out of interpretation, not reality. For example, if a colleague fails to greet you in the morning, you can interpret it as disrespect, and anger will rise. But what if they were simply distracted, preoccupied, or burdened with their own struggles? The action was the same, but your perspective determined whether you carried offense or compassion. A shift in perspective can transform anger into understanding, irritation into patience, and frustration into wisdom. The power of perspective also allows you to see purpose in pain. Many people become angry and bitter at disappointments because they cannot see the hidden opportunity within them. But perspective teaches you that rejection is not the end, it is redirection. Failure is not final, it is feedback. Betrayal is not destruction, it is revelation. Through the lens of perspective, the very events that once caused you to boil with anger can become the lessons that refine your destiny. Life is not designed to break you, it is designed to shape you, and perspective is the tool that allows you to see the shaping rather than the breaking. Think of perspective as the paintbrush of your mind. Every experience is a blank canvas, and you alone decide the colors that will be used to paint it. If you choose dark colors, the image becomes heavy and oppressive. If you choose light and vibrant tones, the same canvas tells a story of hope and resilience. Perspective gives you that authority. You cannot control the canvas of events, but you can always control the brushstrokes of interpretation. Another truth about perspective is that it frees you from the prison of comparison. Many people become bothered, irritated, and even resentful because they are measuring their journey against others. But perspective reminds you that your path is unique, that your timing is not delayed but designed. Instead of becoming angry that others seem to advance faster, perspective shifts your focus to the growth happening within you. This release of comparison lifts the weight of frustration and restores peace to your heart. Perspective also allows you to choose peace over pride. Often, what offends us most deeply is not the act itself, but the injury to our ego. Someone disrespects us and pride rises to demand a reaction. But when you see beyond pride, when you recognize that defending your ego is not worth losing your peace, you gain freedom. Perspective gives you the ability to let go, to walk away, to respond with wisdom instead of fury. This is not weakness. It is the wisdom to recognize that small offenses are not worth the price of your destiny. The power of perspective is ultimately the power to reclaim authority over your mind. It is the discipline to step back and ask, what else could this mean? What lesson can I extract from this? How can I see this differently? Each time you shift your perspective, you take back control from circumstances and people who would otherwise dictate your emotions. This ability becomes your shield, protecting you from unnecessary anger and keeping you anchored in peace no matter what others say or do. One of the greatest traps that keeps people in cycles of frustration, bitterness, and anger is the habit of waiting for recognition, waiting for opportunity, waiting for someone to open a door, waiting for the right circumstances to arrive. And in that waiting, resentment grows. Because when life does not move according to our expectations, the natural response is disappointment. Disappointment left unchecked becomes anger. But anger is not always about people mistreating you. It is often about the fact that you are waiting for something that was never meant to be handed to you. The truth is this opportunity is not something you wait for, it is something you create. When you study the lives of people who rose from obscurity to significance, you will notice that very few of them were simply given a chance. Most of them built their own chance. They did not wait for the stage. They created their own platform. They did not wait for the door to open. They built a door. They did not waste time wishing for someone to notice them. They made themselves impossible to ignore through excellence, vision, and persistence. Waiting can lead to passivity, and passivity often produces frustration, but creation puts you in motion, and motion produces momentum. Why do so many remain bothered by others? Because their joy is tied to expectation. They expect people to treat them fairly, to reward their efforts, to recognize their talent, to applaud their progress. And when those expectations are not met, anger flares. But when you are committed to creating rather than waiting, you shift the source of your fulfillment. You no longer depend on the recognition of others because your satisfaction comes from the work of your own hands. You no longer wait for circumstances to align because you have decided to shape them yourself. Creation is not limited to business or career. It touches every aspect of life. If peace is missing in your environment, you do not sit back and wait for someone else to bring it. You create it through your attitude, your words, and your presence. If joy is absent in your family, you do not wait for someone to cheer you up. You create it by becoming the source of encouragement. If opportunity is absent in your field, you do not sit frustrated while waiting for an invitation. You create one by starting something new, building something fresh, or innovating in a way others have not imagined. Anger evaporates when creation takes the place of waiting because creation places you in control. Think about a farmer. A farmer does not sit idly by hoping that fruit will appear in a barren field. He breaks the ground, plants the seed, waters it, nurtures it, and creates the harvest he desires. Many people grow angry at the emptiness of their lives, but they have never planted the seeds that produce the harvest they crave. You cannot complain about what you have not created. If you want change, you must sow it. If you want progress, you must build it. Waiting for someone else to do it for you only ensures that bitterness will increase with each passing day. There is a subtle but powerful connection between anger and entitlement. Entitlement whispers, "I deserve this, and it should come to me." When it does not, frustration rises. But creation shifts the mindset from entitlement to responsibility. Instead of saying, "I deserve it," you begin to say, "I will build it." Instead of saying, "Why won't they give it to me?" you begin to say, "How can I design it for myself?" That shift frees you from the cycle of disappointment. You stop blaming others for what you don't have, and you start creating what you desire. The act of creating is also a spiritual discipline. It requires vision, patience, and resilience. It demands that you see what does not yet exist and believe that it can come into being through your effort and persistence. This mindset leaves no room for anger at others because your focus is no longer on what they do or do not provide. Your energy is consumed with what you are bringing forth. Creation turns your eyes away from resentment and toward possibility. Consider how much energy is wasted when you are angry at people who did not support you, who did not open doors for you, who did not recognize your potential. That energy could be redirected into building something so powerful that those very people are forced to take notice. But the irony is that once you begin to create, their recognition no longer matters. You will have already proven that your future was never in their hands. It was always in yours. Waiting makes you a victim of time. Creation makes you a master of time. Waiting ties your destiny to the decisions of others. Creation ties your destiny to your own discipline and vision. Waiting drains you with uncertainty. Creation fills you with purpose and direction. And once you taste the freedom of creating, you will never again be enslaved by the frustration of waiting. This is why those who create are rarely consumed by anger. They are too busy building to be distracted by bitterness. They are too focused on producing to be poisoned by resentment. The more you create, the less others can control your emotions because your fulfillment no longer depends on them. instead of being upset that no one gave you an opportunity, you become grateful that the lack of opportunity pushed you to build your own. This is the power of creating instead of waiting. It transforms frustration into fuel, anger into ambition, and disappointment into determination. Every person alive is surrounded by voices, opinions, interruptions, and challenges that fight for attention. If you are not anchored by purpose, these distractions will control you. They will irritate you, frustrate you, and provoke you into wasting time and energy on battles that do not matter. Purpose acts like a compass in the middle of chaos. It directs your focus, determines your priorities, and protects your peace. When you live with a clear sense of purpose, anger loses its grip because your eyes are fixed on something greater than the noise around you. Distraction is one of the main reasons people get bothered by others. Think about it. Most arguments, offenses, and irritations are not connected to your destiny. They are side issues. They are background noise. Yet many people waste hours or even days arguing about things that have nothing to do with their future. They defend their pride. They fight to prove they are right. They replay insults in their mind. But what is really happening? Their purpose is blurred. And when purpose is blurred, distraction becomes powerful. Purpose is what keeps you from being pulled into every fight. Imagine a ship sailing across the ocean. Waves crash against it, winds roar, and storms rise, but the ship keeps moving because it has a destination. If the captain stopped to fight every wave, the ship would never arrive. The waves are real, but they are not the mission. The mission is the destination. In the same way, when you know your purpose, you stop fighting every wave of criticism, every storm of offense, every gust of negativity. You acknowledge them, but you keep sailing. Distractions lose power when the destination is clear. Anger often rises when people or circumstances appear to delay us. We feel offended when others don't cooperate with our expectations, when someone blocks our path, or when progress seems slow. But purpose reminds you that no human can truly stop what you are destined to accomplish. A delay is not a denial. A rejection is not the end. A closed door is simply an instruction to find another way. Purpose keeps you steady because it assures you that your life is bigger than any single obstacle. With that mindset, why waste energy being angry at someone who cannot truly derail you? Purpose also helps you decide which voices matter. When you don't know where you are going, every opinion feels important. One person praises you, and you feel lifted. Another criticizes you, and you feel crushed. You become a slave to people's approval because you have no internal compass guiding you. But when you know your purpose, you measure opinions against it. If advice helps you advance toward your destiny, you receive it. If criticism tries to pull you away, you ignore it. Purpose filters voices, and in doing so, it filters emotions. No longer are you tossed back and forth by what people say. You are anchored by where you are going. Another gift of purpose is perspective. When you are clear about your calling, you see small offenses for what they are. Small. You do not magnify them into mountains because you recognize they are pebbles on the road, not barriers to your future. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Why waste anger when it does not affect your destiny? A colleague undermines you at work. Why lose sleep when their actions cannot cancel your assignment? Purpose shrinks distractions down to their proper size, and in doing so, it preserves your peace. Purpose is also what transforms suffering into strength. Without purpose, pain feels meaningless, and meaningless pain always breeds frustration and anger. But with purpose, even pain becomes part of the process. You can endure rejection when you know it is shaping resilience in you. You can withstand criticism when you know it is sharpening your character. You can press through loneliness when you know it is preparing you for influence. Purpose takes what could provoke anger and turns it into fuel for growth. When you live without purpose, life feels random, and randomness invites irritation. You find yourself reacting to every little thing because nothing feels connected. But when you discover purpose, you begin to see patterns. You recognize that even the difficult moments are working together to shape your future. This awareness keeps you calm. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "What is this teaching me?" That shift transforms your emotional life. You no longer see enemies in every inconvenience. You see lessons, redirection, and opportunities hidden inside them. Purpose also protects your energy. You only have so much mental and emotional strength each day. Without purpose, that energy leaks into arguments, grudges, and wasted conversations. But with purpose, you can serve your strength for what truly matters. You stop explaining yourself to people who will never understand. You stop trying to prove your worth to those who doubt you. You stop retaliating against insults that do not deserve your attention. You choose battles strategically because you know your purpose is too valuable to be drained by meaningless fights. Distractions will always exist. There will always be people who misunderstand you, criticize you, oppose you, or even betray you. But they do not have the power to derail your destiny unless you hand it to them by surrendering your peace. Purpose ensures that you keep your peace because it keeps you moving forward. It reminds you that every second spent in anger is a second stolen from progress. It teaches you that every distraction, no matter how loud, is temporary compared to the permanence of your calling. When you are anchored in purpose, you become untouchable. Insults may fly, but they cannot land. Obstacles may rise, but they cannot stop you. Delays may occur, but they cannot destroy you. You walk with quiet confidence because you know that your destiny is larger than the distractions around you. And once you taste that level of clarity, you realize that no person, no situation, and no offense is worth losing your focus. Life will always bring moments where people test your patience, challenge your peace, and attempt to pull you into battles that are beneath your destiny. But anger and frustration are choices, not chains. You were never created to be ruled by the behavior of others. You were designed to master your own spirit. When you embrace inner authority, you become stronger than any insult. When you shift your perspective, you learn to see opportunity where others only see offense. When you stop waiting and begin creating, you free yourself from the prison of unmet expectations. And when you live anchored in purpose, distractions lose their power and peace becomes your daily companion. The secret to never being bothered by anyone is not found in changing people, but in transforming yourself. Your future does not belong to those who insult you, reject you, or misunderstand you. Your future belongs to you, and the way you protect it is by refusing to give away your emotions to things that do not matter. Master yourself, guard your perspective, create your own opportunities, and live guided by purpose. When you do, you will rise above anger, walk in peace, and move forward with unshakable focus toward the destiny that was designed for you. Have you ever found yourself losing your peace because of what someone said or did? Maybe it was a word that cut you, a look that disrespected you, or a disappointment that shook your trust. Too often, we hand over our joy to others, allowing them to control how we feel. But today, I want to show you how to never again be ruled by anger or bothered by anyone, and instead learn how to create your own opportunities, your own peace, and your own destiny.